By Swami Vivekananda. The succession of changes is the cause of manifold evolution. By making samayama on the three sorts of changes comes the knowledge of past and future. We must not lose sight of the first definition of samayama. When the mind has attained to that state, when it identifies itself with the internal impression of the object, leaving the external, and when by long practice that is retained by the mind, and the mind can get into the state in a moment, that is samayama. If a man in that state wants to know the past and future, he has to make a samayama on the changes in the samskaras. Some are working now at present, some have worked out, and some are waiting to work, and so by making a samayama on these, he knows the past and future. By making samayama on word, meaning, and knowledge which are ordinarily confused, comes the knowledge of all animal sounds. The word represents the external vibration. The meaning represents the internal vibration that travels to the brain through the channels of the indriyas, conveying the external impression to the mind, and knowledge represents the reaction of the mind with which comes perception. These three confused make a sense object. Suppose I hear a word, there is first the external vibration, next the internal sensation carried to the mind by the organ of hearing. Then the mind reacts and I know the word. The word I know is a mixture of the three: vibration, sensation, and reaction. Ordinarily, these three are inseparable, but by practice, the yogi can't separate them. When a man has attained to this, if he makes a samayama on any sound, he understands the meaning which that sound was intended to express, whether it was made by man or by any other animal. By perceiving the impressions, knowledge of past life, each experience that we have come in the form of that we have comes in the form of a wave in the chitta, and this subsides and becomes finer and finer, but is never lost. It remains there in minute form, and we can bring this wave up again. It becomes memory. So, if the yogi can make a samayam on those past impressions in the mind, he will begin to remember all his past lives. By making samayama on the signs in others, both knowledge of that mind comes. Suppose each man has particular signs on his body which differentiate him from others. When the yogi makes a samayama on these signs peculiar to a certain man, he knows the nature of the mind of that person, but not its contents, that not being the object of the samayama. He would not know the contents of the mind by making a samayama on the body. There would be required a twofold samayama, first on the signs in the body and then on the mind itself. The yogi would then know everything that is in that mind, past, present, and future. By making samayama on the form of the body, the power of perceiving forms being obstructed, the power of manifestation in the eye being separated, the yogi's body becomes unseen. A yogi standing in the midst of this room can apparently vanish. He does not really vanish, but he will not be seen by anyone. The form and the body are, as it were, separated. You must remember that this can only be done when the yogi has attained to that power of concentration, when form and the thing formed has been separated. Then he makes a samayam on that, and the power to perceive forms is obstructed, because the power of perceiving forms and comes from the junction of form and the thing formed. By this, the disappearance or concealment of words which are being spoken is also explained. Karma is of two kinds, soon to be fructified and late to be fructified. By making samayam on that, or by the science called aristha, potence, the yogis knows the exact time of separation from their bodies. When the yogi makes a samayam on his own karma, and upon those impressions in his mind which are now working and those which are just waiting to work, he knows exactly by those that are waiting when his body will fall. He knows when he will die, at what hour, even at what minute. The Hindus think very much of that knowledge or consciousness of the nearness of death, because it is taught in the Gita that the thoughts at the moment of departure are great powers in determining the next life. By making samayam on friendship, etc., various strength comes. By making samayam on the strength of the elephant, etc., that strength comes to the yogi. When the yogi has attained to this samayama and one strength, he makes a samayam on the strength of the elephant and gets it. Infinite energy is at the disposal of everyone if he only knows how to get it. The yogi has discovered the science of getting it. By making samayama on that effulgent light comes the knowledge of the fine, the obstructed, and the remote. When the yogi makes samayama on that effulgent light in the heart, he sees things which are very remote, things, for instance, that are happening in a distant place and which are obstructed by mountain barriers, and also things which are very fine. By making samayama on the sun comes the knowledge of the world, on the moon comes the knowledge of the cluster of stars, on the pole star comes the knowledge of the motion of the stars, on the navel circle comes the knowledge of the constitution of the body, on the hollow of the throat comes cessation of hunger. When a man is very hungry, if he can make samayama on the pit of the throat, hunger